Hi everybody, this is the recording for the Unit 3 U.S. History Modified Test. I'll be reading the test questions and the answer options for you. As you take your test, please make sure to save your answers and then to submit for grading, otherwise there may be a submission error. Please also remember you can't save your answers and then close the test and come back to it later. You have to leave the test open in order to prevent submission errors. So make sure that you're not closing the test. You have to do this in one sitting. You can take the time to take a 5-minute break, get up, walk around, use the facilities, get a drink, but you cannot save your answers, close it, and come back to the test later. It will submit with an error or you will lose your work. Please make sure to write down your answer responses as you go. In the event that you lose power or internet, you want to make sure that you're writing them down and you don't lose all your work. Okay, let's get started with the test. There is a total of 21 multiple choice questions, 22 and 23 are short answer. Which president's views on the power of the federal government changed when he saw an opportunity to authorize the Louisiana Purchase? Was that George Washington, John Adams, or Thomas Jefferson? Number 2, which of the following issues challenged George Washington on the new nation during his presidency? Building a fleet of ships to protect the coast, putting the nation's finances in order, or choosing and sending ambassadors to Europe? Number 3, use the map to help you answer the question, what did the Louisiana Purchase achieve for the United States? First option, it doubled the size of the country and provided control of the Mississippi River. It prevented a Western attack on the United States by Spain. Or it improved relations with England and Canada and prevented the Indian invasions. Moving on to number 4, which president proposed and supported laws restricting the rights of immigrants? Was that George Washington, John Adams, or Thomas Jefferson? Number 5, the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions stated that the federal government had abused its powers by violating the First Amendment and the rights of immigrants coming to America during the Adams presidency. Which laws did the resolution oppose? Was it the 12th and 13th Amendments to the Constitution, the Ordinance of 1785 and 1787, or the Alien and Sedition Acts? What was one outcome of the constitutional debate surrounding Hamilton's plan? Hamilton lost his chance to become president, the roles of both the Senate and the House of Representatives were strengthened, or the last option, the Federalist and Democratic Republican parties were formed and grew. Number 7, which of the following was not part of Hamilton's financial plan for the United States? Creating a national bank, reducing the national debt, or creating state banks? Remember, the focus is on which one was not part of Hamilton's financial plan. Which of the following did George Washington's farewell address urge the nation to do? Remain neutral in foreign affairs, establish several political parties, or form a strong alliance with the French? Number 9, when the first two political parties developed, what issue divided them most strongly? An alliance with Spain versus an alliance with France, federal power versus states' rights, or taxation versus donation? Number 10, what is the Bill of Rights? Was that payment made to England during Washington's presidency, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution guaranteeing individual rights, or was it the part of the French Revolution that mirrored the American Revolution? Number 11, what happened during the election of 1800 to lead to the passage or approval of the 12th Amendment? One of the candidates withdrew before the Electoral College could certify the results. The second option, George Washington handed over the reins of power to John Adams, who at first did not want to accept them. Or the last option, there was a tie in the Electoral College because electors were allowed to cast 2 votes for president and none for vice president. Number 12, which of the following became states out of the land acquired by the Louisiana Purchase? Was it Mississippi, Illinois, Alabama, and Missouri, Minnesota, Colorado, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, Wisconsin, Indiana, West Virginia, and Iowa? Number 13, which group identifies causes of the War of 1812? Was it Group A or B? Group A includes problems with the French over British rights, embargoes on British goods, disputes over navigable waters, and Americans joining the British Army. Or was it Group B, resentment of British from the Revolution, impressment of American sailors, British trade restrictions, and American Indian alliances with Britain? Number 14, what was a consequence of the War of 1812? A stronger sense of nationalism, greater isolation from England, increased attention to the states' rights. Number 15, in the United States changed in the period following the War of 1812. Which group best describes some of those changes? Would it be Group A or Group B? Group A includes architecture became increasingly modern, agriculture increased along the coast, religion became less important to most people, and South American exploration began. Group B, tariffs were imposed on foreign goods, westward movement and exploration grew, cotton production increased, and political parties became less important. Number 16, who served as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court for most of the first 35 years of the 19th century? Was that John Quincy Adams, John Marshall, or John Randolph? In number 17, use the map to help you answer the question. Which of the following was not part of the Missouri Compromise of 1820? Again, the focus here is not part of the Missouri Compromise. Maine entered the United States as a free state, Florida Territory was returned to the Spanish, or Missouri entered the United States as a slave state. Number 18, which group includes leaders that worked for compromise on issues dividing the North, South, and West during the Monroe era? Was that this group, the first option, Meriwether Lewis, William Clark, and Andrew Jackson? The second group, Aaron Burr, Simon Bolivar, and Benjamin Banneker? Or the last group, John Calhoun, Henry Clay, and Daniel Webster? Number 19, what best describes the treatment of American Indians during the early 19th century? Remember, 19th century would be the early 1800s. Their lands were taken and they had no rights as citizens. They were imprisoned for starting wars against the Spanish and British, or they had representatives in Congress and were asked for advice and exploration. Number 20, what was the key message of the Monroe Doctrine? Colonization by European countries in the Americas would not be tolerated. A trade alliance would be established with England, or the last option, slavery would be maintained throughout the South but would not be permitted in the North. Number 21, the era of good feelings was the term used to describe which of the following during Monroe's presidency? Economic prosperity, agreement and common goals between political parties, or the last option, a time of peace around the world. Number 22 is your first short answer. It includes the big idea for Unit 3 to help you get started. As a newborn country, the United States will face many challenges to transition from a shaky confederation to a strong, stable government. This was made possible by the strength of their new republic leaders. For your first short answer, be sure to give page references for all information. You should only be using your textbook and course slides to answer these questions. All responses should be in complete sentences. Use the Unit 3 online course lessons and textbook pages 192 to 257 and chapters 8 to 10. The number 22 short answer question is right here. Choose one of the first 5 presidents. Describe 2 significant events that strengthened the country during his presidency. You can describe legislation, conflict, and/or significant changes. The answer to this first short answer question is 10 points, or it is worth 10 points. Number 23 is focusing on perseverance. In this unit, we have seen many examples of individuals showing perseverance. Remember that perseverance is pursuing worthy goals with determination and patience, even when obstacles and difficulties arrive. Give an example of perseverance during this time period. Explain who was showing perseverance and which event or situation he or she demonstrated this character trait. This answer is worth 5 points. If you choose not to use an example from the unit, you can, for those 5 points, describe a time when you have shown perseverance yourself. If you do not have any personal examples, explain an example of perseverance from your community. Your example can come from politics, education, business, or your local community. This answer is worth 5 points. Your test in total is worth 78 points altogether. Again, just as a reminder, make sure you're saving your answers as you go and submit for grading. Good luck on your test.